Metro Police in Las Vegas have sponsored a purity event that convinced young girls, or attempted to convince young girls, to abstain from having premarital sex. Now, this event was called Choose Purity, and the organizer of the event was Officer Regina, and it focused on a number of different things, how premarital sex will lead to sexual violence, gangs, drugs, and prostitution.
Oh.
So if you have sex before marriage, you're likely to fall under one of these categories.
Now, does this include fingering, or is this going all the way?
Fingering, read on. I have no idea.
Because fingering, I don't think would lead to crime.
So the Las Vegas Sun did describe the event. You're the worst.
but you could get fingered for a crime.
Boom! There you
Hello.
go.
Yeah.
All right, so the room had about 125 parents and children, and they watched recorded interviews with a pimp and prostitutes, learned modern-day slavery exists in the form of sex trade, and saw grisly images of people who'd suffered at the hands of hard drugs, such as a woman who'd lost limbs in a methamphetamine lab explosion, and a man who had his face partially gnawed off by a meth user. Okay, so the reason why I'm reading you this is because look at the kind of ridiculous messaging that took place at this purity event, right?
Right.
Here's the only way that you protect young girls from that kind of crazy stuff.
Birth
you teach
control.
them birth control. You teach them about how they stay safe. Study after study proves that if you tell them, no, if you have premarital sex, you're gonna die, that's not gonna work. They're just as likely, according to Johns Hopkins University, they're just as likely to have sex as those who didn't take a purity pledge, except they're more likely to have unsafe sex. And they're more likely to have psychological issues because they're going to feel super guilty about having that premarital sex.
Why do you think they're more likely to have unsafe sex? I mean, if they've been that scared into it.
Because they don't know
because they
about
haven't
how
been
to keep
educated
themselves
by
safe.
it. Yeah.
Yes, and they're more scared around. They're not going to go ask someone for birth control.
Right,
they're going to all that stuff, right? So yeah, the compounding deleterious effects of ignorance.
It's amazing to me. I mean, like the fear.
Deleterious.
That's a great word.
Thank you.
Get it.
I think it's deleterious. Right?
You can say it both ways.
So they sponsored it, but they're claiming, hey, no public funding went toward this event. It was all through private donations. So that's the way we were able to do it. At first, I was annoyed that they would try to do like a purity event for girls, but what about boys? All of a sudden, like, that's not a big deal, but they're doing a similar event for boys, which also sucks, by the way. I don't want them to do purity events. I want you to tell teenagers what the reality is about sex. I want you to educate them so they stay safe. That's the only way you prevent unwanted pregnancy and the spread of STDs.
Elizabeth Smart, right? She was abducted. That's the girl I'm talking
Utah.
about? So so she is now an advocate against this kind of shit. Mm-hmm. And she says this only compounds, it creates shame around women and their sexuality. It makes them less likely to report rapes and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, it's nice to see someone like Elizabeth Smart out there speaking intelligently to these ignoramuses. Again,
and she was from a very religious family.
Yeah, again,
too,
again, this is the core of this problem is religion.
Of course.
Again, religion, it stops critical thinking, it teaches bad thinking. We need to get rid of religion.
One other thing that I want to say is, I mean, look, back in the day when people were getting married at like 15, 16, maybe you can make a case that abstinence makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm 27 years old, I'm about to turn 28. Like, really? You're going to tell me
you're a success
don't
story.
have premarital sex?
You're a success story for premarital sex.
I didn't get involved in
That's a great point,
gangs or
Jimmy. Yeah.
Look at you.
drugs, but prostitution, didn't get involved in any of that.
I mean, if
it's
you're not
ridiculous.
in a gang.